Loki. So Loki is a continuation of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and it is the third consecutive series to have been released exclusively for Disney+, the first one being WandaVision, and the second one being The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Now with this one, it has a bit of a different feel to it, because it's focused primarily on just one character and the aftermath of a certain event. And in regards to this one, I was really excited for it because I'm a big fan of the Loki character. That will explore further aspects, while also giving us a bit more of an insight that will get us to understand more as to what direction the MCU is going to go in with Phase 4. So it's set after the events of Avengers Endgame, where we saw Loki escape from the clutches of the Avengers with the Space Stone, but the God of Mischief himself is back in this new original series that's set in an alternate timeline. He finds himself caught up by the TVA, aka Time Various Authority, who send him on a time-jumping mission. So as I mentioned, it's set immediately after Endgame, where Loki is transported to another realm in the universe. But the twist is, it's in a different timeline. So we know that Loki has already done something immediately that has halted or at least disturbed the normal narrative timeline within the MCU. I mean, that moment in itself in Endgame when they go back in time and try and retrieve it from Loki, and then Loki escapes, that's another change in going back in time to somewhere else and then changing that timeline. So it's a change within a change. But in terms of where Loki's actually set, it's very different than anything we've probably seen in the MCU before, because it almost has a bit like a Blade Runner-esque kind of feel to it, where it has certain elements that reminded me a little bit of something from Doctor Who. I'm not saying it is like Doctor Who, but what I'm saying is that it just felt to me that the world that it is in at this point in the series, that it just felt like it had certain elements that reminded me of Doctor Who. I feel as though sometimes when you add things like time travel and time jumps and narrative alternate timelines, etc., it's always a big risk that can easily go wrong. Where this kind of works is because it builds a whole bigger picture than just the Loki series, because we've already had elements of time travel in things like Avengers Endgame, and there are elements in Ant-Man, and I'm sure we're going to get it in a few films and seasons to come. Now when we're introduced to Loki again, it's still the same character we know and love from the MCU films, but I feel as though this time we follow him into a whole new adventure that we haven't really seen, not just from him, but from anybody in the MCU so far. I mean, there's only 6 episodes that last from 40 to 50 minutes, so there's a lot of elements in the story that can be pulled out and extrapolated and will become part of the MCU in the future. But it definitely worked, I think, because although the first few episodes were a bit, I don't know how to feel about this, they kind of lacked a bit of pace to begin with. It gradually got better where it unfolded a bit more, and that's what I do sometimes find with TV shows, that sometimes it takes me a whole season consisting of 10 episodes to actually get involved in it. That's why I'm sometimes hesitant in terms of getting involved with a TV show. But I gave it a go because I know the context of it, because it's the MCU and I like Loki, the character and all those things. And the first 2 episodes I thought just added more context to the narrative and the characters and introduced new ones as well. I feel as though as it kind of progressed, a lot of things kind of started to make sense, and you know, the plot started to thicken basically. That's what I really appreciated about the latter parts of the series. But the visuals are fantastic in this series as well. I mean, I know I've mentioned already about the fact that it kind of relates to a Doctor Who-esque kind of style that also has a bit of a Blade Runner film noir kind of touch to it too. And I think what you understood with the visuals and the realms that Loki and co were involved in, you definitely saw a new side to the MCU that we haven't seen yet. That kind of paints a picture, in my opinion, of what the new phase is going to be like in Phase 4, that will change the course of what happened to Doctor Strange, Spider-Man, Guardians, and some new ones that we haven't seen yet. And this is going to be something that I think will be a vital piece of the puzzle for what we're going to see in the future. Now onto the performances in this series. Tom Hiddleston, for me, is a cornerstone of the MCU, and he is probably one of the best performers in the entire series. And Loki is a complex character in general, but Tom Hiddleston's portrayal of this character makes him even more complicated, which at the same time makes him fascinating. I've always found Hiddleston's charisma as an actor, yet his underlying interrogation, to be a perfect match for the Loki character. And that's why he has become such a success in this role. Because we all know that Loki was originally a villain who we grew to love, but the more we got to know him, we understood the emotional traumas and the emotional difficulties that he went through to kind of make him more of an endearing anti-hero. Like how we saw him in the latter stages of the MCU, like Thor Ragnarok and Avengers Infinity War. But yes, this is definitely a different Loki than to the one that we saw originally in the first Thor film, which came out in 2011, which is crazy to say that it was 10 years ago. Because when we were first introduced to Loki, he bragged about being powerful and being a god of Asgard. But because we've got to know him a little bit more and we've kind of explored other avenues within within the MCU, such as Thanos and the Guardians, and there are things that are more powerful than him, and because of that, it's exposed more vulnerabilities, and we definitely explore that a lot more in this series. And it made him rethink everything he ever did, because he was over his head, really. Now onto the other performances. Owen Wilson as Agent Mobius. I'm not really a huge fan of Owen Wilson. I've never understood why people like him so much. I've never been a big fan of his, but in this series I actually really liked him because he was this authority figure and he shared a lot of great chemistry with Hiddleston in this series. This kind of character was someone who was a leader, but there was also something quite fishy about him as well. Like he was a man of mischief, I suppose, in some ways, but you're going to have to watch the episodes in the series to find out what happens. But I just feel that the Mobius character was a good match with Loki in terms of psychological interrogation and a way to bring him down as well emotionally. That's why I think Wilson really captured that. Another crucial piece of the puzzle in this series was Sophia DiMartino, who played Sylvie. Now, without giving too many spoilers away, it's Sylvie's relationship with Loki that's key to Loki's mission set by the TVA and the other events that shape up in this series and could in future installments. And like Wilson as well, DiMartino's performance was fantastic, who added a lot more depth and structure to the supporting cast alongside Tom Hiddleston's Loki. So Loki as a series was very good. I really enjoyed it. I feel as though that this series is central, or going to be central, in the installments in the MCU this year and next year and the rest of Phase 4. I'm not going to say what happens, but the ending of the series really does change the course and the perception of the MCU in its entirety. It really does. And I'm looking forward to a Series 2 of this, which Marvel have confirmed will happen in the future. So that's something to be excited about. And what I find interesting as well is that, as we know, the series is set straight after Avengers Endgame. Maybe everything that we've already seen in the MCU Phase 4 in relation to alternate timelines is because of Loki and everybody in the series. But at the end of the day, we've got at least one more series of Loki to look forward to and a few films in the franchise. What did you think of Loki? Did you enjoy it as much as I did? Was it better or not as good as WandaVision or The Falcon and the Winter Soldier? Let me know in the comments below, and as always, if you did go on to enjoy this video, then please hit that like button and subscribe for more, and have a notification bell tick so you're notified when I upload a new video, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care, everybody.